Let's jump right into this explainer, because today we're diving headfirst into the visceral, adrenaline-fueled reality of owning a true halo bike. We're looking at the Kawasaki H2R, and we're not just reading off a spec sheet here. We're talking about the reality after a full year and 1,000 miles of actual ownership. We're going to see what it really takes to live with, maintain, and unleash literally one of the most uncompromising motorcycles ever built.
Okay, let's just smash right into the single most important spec, the number that defines this entire machine. 330. That is 330 dyno-tuned horsepower. Everything about the H2R, every single engineering decision, every compromise, all the madness, it all revolves entirely around that one mind-bending number. I mean, for a motorcycle, this kind of power isn't just fast, it's world-altering. It completely changes how the bike behaves, how it's geared, and the sheer physical toll it takes on its own components.
But what does 330 horsepower actually sound like? You know, the standard H2 has that distinct supercharger whistle, right? Well, the H2R is a totally different beast. Under heavy load, it produces this unique, violent suction noise from the front. The owner literally describes it as sounding like a fighter jet trying to take off. It's this crazy auditory experience you feel deep in your chest, kind of giving you the vibe of a massive turbo spooling up, even though, it's a supercharged engine.
Accessing that fighter jet experience, though, it requires a monumental financial leap. The standard Ninja H2 sits around a $30,000 MSRP. The H2R, it commands double that at roughly 60 grand. It just perfectly illustrates how far Kawasaki pushed the envelope for this track weapon. You are literally paying the price of two standard H2s just to tap into the raw, unrestricted potential of this platform.
So, what exactly does that extra $30,000 buy you? Well, it buys absolute physics-defying performance. When we break down the physical differences, the price tag makes total sense. The H2R sheds a massive 50 pounds compared to the standard H2, dropping down to 475 pounds. Pair that insane weight reduction with a terrifying 100 horsepower advantage, and man, you've got a power-to-weight ratio that just shouldn't exist.
And these extreme metrics are exactly what earn the H2R its undeniable halo bike status. Like the owner points out, you can't look at this machine through a normal lens of practicality or try to justify a standard price-to-performance ratio. It's like you don't question if a Bugatti is worth millions. You just accept it. The H2R is exactly the same way. It's this exclusive, uncompromising experience that exists purely to push the boundaries of what a motorcycle can even be.
To really grasp the extremity of this machine, get this. You don't even need to be moving. Just picture it sitting there, idling. Not under load, not revving, just idling. It hits an ear-splitting 121 decibels. No joke, it is without a doubt one of the absolute loudest bikes you will ever encounter in your life. With a 121 decibel baseline that only gets exponentially louder once you're actually riding, earplugs are not a suggestion. They are an absolute necessity for your survival on this bike. The punishing volume of that exhaust is a constant physical force. If you're going to pilot a 330 horsepower missile, protecting your hearing isn't optional, it's a mandatory part of the pre-ride checklist.
And a missile it absolutely is. To actually manage this violent 330 horsepower output without instantly flipping over backward, this specific H2R has been geared heavily for top speed. And on a closed course, this bike has clocked around 220 miles per hour. Let that sink in. That is literal hypercar territory, achieved on two wheels. But here is where the real engineering marvel of the H2R shines through. You'd probably expect a 330 horsepower, 220 mile per hour machine to feel like this wild, untamable beast 100% of the time. But surprisingly, despite all that violent power, the ride is actually smoother, more nimble, and highly refined compared to the standard H2. Thanks to that 50-pound weight reduction, it handles brilliantly, proving Kawasaki didn't just slap a giant engine on a frame. They built a highly tuned, complete track package.
Now, the everyday reality of owning a 330 horsepower track weapon? Yeah, it's brutal. Since it's a purpose-built race bike, you can say goodbye to standard street conveniences. Factory OEM cooling fans? Non-existent. If you want to add Kawasaki's plastic cooling fans to keep it from overheating in slower traffic, those will set you back a staggering $1,000. It overheats incredibly fast if you aren't moving at speed, forcing you to constantly shut it off just to cool down. Oh, and managing 330 horsepower means you are burning through clutch plates rapidly.
But honestly, all of those maintenance quirks pale in comparison to this one number, 15. To sustain that unparalleled 330 horsepower, Kawasaki officially requires a complete engine rebuild every 10 to 15 hours of use. Think about that for a second. Every 15 hours of riding, the engine needs to be fundamentally overhauled. That is the true, hidden cost of sustaining this kind of extreme performance.
And if you push that engine just a hair too far, the margin for error is exactly zero. During a top-speed pull, the owner found out exactly what happens when you test the absolute physical limits of this machine. Just brushing the rev limiter in 6th gear for a split second, literally a fraction of a moment, had severe immediate consequences for this highly strung motor.
The aftermath of hitting that limiter in top gear was an absolute mess. The bike immediately started leaking, just pissing oil everywhere. On top of that, the immense, extreme heat generated by that split-second limit physically altered the titanium exhaust, permanently changing the color inside the pipe. It's a pretty stark visual reminder of the violent, volatile forces contained inside that supercharged engine.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for any enthusiast looking at this masterpiece of engineering. Yes, you get the world-beating sound, the hypercar speed, and that undeniable prestige. But I want to leave you with this thought. Is the ultimate 330 horsepower thrill truly worth the madness of a complete engine rebuild every 15 hours? It's a price you pay not just in dollars, but an absolute dedication to the extreme. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you on the next one.